G'day, welcome to Paul Wheel Drive channel, or you might have found it by Trip in a Kilt. This week it's all about a little trip out to Nimbin. Now just to give you a bit of backstory on Nimbin, in 1973 there was a whole lot of people turned up at Nimbin for a 10-day festival. It was meant to be music and culture and all that sort of stuff. It turned out being somewhat out of control. People parading around in the nude, all very casual, people smoking the happy tobacco, you name it. Then in 1979 at the Tania Basin, there was a whole heap of protesters who decided they didn't want to have their forest logged and ripped apart, so they had a protest. 4 years later, the government stepped in and made that whole area a national park. So quite a lot to unfold. Anywho, let's go. I was a little bit sad leaving Tenterfield actually. I had grown a real affinity towards it. Kind of wished I'd had a little bit more time to see. And now a week later, Tenterfield was on fire. 3 separate fronts. So glad I saw it when I saw it. How you doing? I'm 10 minutes out of Nimbin, so I thought I'd just give you a bit of a quick update just before I get into it. I had the opportunity to come here 2 years ago, but I just didn't think I was ready for it. Some of you might say they weren't ready for me. I don't think so. So I'm going to go and check it out this time. I've got to say all the area is, it's all country. It's a very typical farm, lots of hilly areas, beautiful trees. Nothing is sort of untoward or unmistakable saying, oh, now I know I'm getting close to Nimbin. So that's the pre-Nimbin. Now I have some preconceptions and I don't want to share them with you because I think they're a bit, there's a word for it, but you know, I'm not biased, but I've got these images and thoughts in my mind what I think Nimbin's going to be. So I'd be interested to see whether I'm confirmed or denied, or whether I was close or whether I was miles out. Driving down the main street of Nimbin. It's all pretty quiet, and this is a Friday morning, so there should be a little bit of action if there was going to be any at all. Today I want to give my first impressions on Nimbin, even though I did arrive yesterday. Yesterday I was a bit tired, a lot of driving, hot and bothered, usual. So the town, absolutely beautiful. It's not what I had anticipated, and now I think about it, I don't really want to share that with you, but needless to say I thought it would be a lot more hippie, and so it's a kind of a cross between the both of them. There's a bit of sensibility about it, a bit of growing up about it, but equally it's very laid back, very vivid colours everywhere, everything is chilled, no one's in a rush, and it's got a nice vibe to it. I had the camera at this particular angle because I wanted to show you the colour. Everything in the in Nimbin is brightly coloured. That's the chemist, which hopefully you can see behind me. and that's just typical of no matter what the shop is in town, although the majority of shops will be food shops, clothing shops, or well, that's about it really, but it's still very, very colourful. Now you can probably hear in the background, that's the generator running. This is not a random tip, this is just so you know, just a little bit of an update on the reality of running. So for those who have been watching, they'll remember that inside the van I've had it converted over so it's 240 volt anytime I want it. And what I've done is I've been running the air conditioner. It's a really hot day, 38 degrees. So I've been running the air conditioner and I dozed off. And then when I woke up, the batteries had dropped down to 23%. So rather than do anything else, I've started up the generator. And the generator is normally running about 56 to 60 amps into the batteries. However, I thought, oh, I'll just give it a bit of a poke on the air conditioner inside. And you can see the figures on the screen now, how it's dropped down from around about 60 to around about 30, so it's lost half. But I still do have the air conditioner inside, which is nice. However, that's the sacrifice, trying to run all those sort of things. So I'm trying to get the caravan temperature down from, it's 28 degrees inside the caravan. I'm trying to get it down to around about 20 degrees. So all very complicated, but that gives you sort of some idea in reality. If you want to run the air conditioner all the time or for prolonged periods of time, that's the sort of thing that you can expect in the compensation of it all. Boy, I dribble. Here's a random tip for you. In fact, it is a three for 3 tips for the price of one. If you're just in an area and just about to head off, about an hour before you head off, open the car door, open the caravan door, get some sort of bug spray, really give it some treatment in there, same as both in the car and the caravan. Close the door, close the caravan door, and then just go and do something for half an hour to an hour. Sure, it's going to be a little bit nasty when you get in there, but I guarantee it's going to kill all those bugs. Otherwise, what can happen is you can be in a beautiful little place, and like I've just left a really great place, but a few midges just drive me crazy. So what I've done is I've done exactly that. I filled up the car with bug spray, filled up the caravan with bug spray, then took a walk. Obviously don't go straight back and open all the doors and all the windows. Then yeah, once it all dies down after half an hour to an hour, jump in the car and head off. Now, if you don't want to do it that way, you can always get the mosquito coils. I don't know how well they work, whether they kill or not, but makes you feel better. And if you've been bitten, this is a little, not a bad way to sort out your problems. It's called peppermint oil. It's pretty expensive. You can get it in most supermarkets, and you just pop it in a couple of little dabs, then rub it on, and you'd be surprised how quickly the itch goes away. I meant to mention this the other day. There's an app that's probably worth getting. It's called Sound Trails, all one word. It's available both for Apple and for Android. Once you do, what you do is you download it onto your phone. You then open it up, go to the area that you'd like to look at. And so a couple of places you can definitely look at. One was Tenterfield, which I've already been. Another one is Nimbin. And another one I'm about to go to is Moree. You can go in, click it, and then you click download, and then it's got all different little, it might have a picture of the church and it says, oh, this church was made in such and such, and this is the local minister who did something famous, etc. So it's just a nice little twist to have in there. So you might want to think about that. It's called Sound Trails. I'm on the road out to Tania Creek. That's where the protest originally started. I'm in a really special place called Tania Creek Picnic Reserve. Now this is very close to what happened back in the late 70s, where protesters got involved because the logging industry decided this area they were going to log because, hey, they could. And then there was the dispute between the protesters, the loggers and the police and the government. And I'll talk about a bit more about that in a minute. But since I've been here, the sounds of the bush are just incredible. I'd love to know some of those birds, the sounds they're making. One of them, hopefully I've recorded, was really obscure. It's a sound I've never heard from a bird. So if you get the chance, come down and check it out. I've got to say, there are parts of the road that are pretty rough. There are also parts of the road that are quite narrow, and if you meet someone else, it's a bit of a shock, but you've got to sort it out. So definitely do not bring a car down. It's a four-wheel drive job. But if you get down here, really is quite outstanding. In this area, there is cedar, white cedar, buyong and teak. That's the trees that are dotted around this forest. And because of that, in the late 1970s, there were protesters found out that they were going to actually log the area. And obviously any disregard, just go in and just rip out the logs. So the protesters set up a group. And now a lot of people kind of associate this area of where it all happened as being Nimbin. I'm about an hour out of Nimbin, closer to another town. I'll write down the name there, closer to that. So basically what happened was a couple moved into the area and they'd set themselves up, and one afternoon the guy in the family heard some sounds coming up this way. So he didn't even know that there was a track up, but he managed to find his way up the track, and he found some workers who were working on the track on the road, and he had a bit of chat to them, and they said, oh, we're just preparing it because they're about to come in and log it and tree fell it. So, which is absolute desecration. He was surprised. He then went back and told his wife. Then they told a few other people. And as it turned out on that weekend, there was like a farmer's market and a bit of a get-together in the local town. And there was a band playing. And they asked the band if the band minded if they used their PA just to let the locals know that this logging was about to happen. So the band said, yeah, use the mic, no problem. So they mentioned about what was about to happen, and they said they were going to go and set themselves up here at the, well, now it's called the Protestors Falls picnic area, but they decided to bring a handful of people here. And through that, I know I'm going on, but it's relatively important. Through this mention on the PA, quite a few people turned up, and then more and more of the locals said, they can't do this. So they actually formed a protesters group, and it was always their intention to be non-violent. They had a permanent camp set up here, and sure enough, one day the police arrived, the loggers arrived, and a whole handful of people, and apparently a lot of police. So the protest group all gathered around some trees and everything and sang their songs, and when they finished, the police said, very nice, okay, you've had your little bit, now will you get out the road because I'm going to let the loggers come in. And suddenly, even though it was non-violent, there's a handful of people said, no, we're not going to move. So the police grabbed the people, dragged them down the road and put them in lock-up for a couple of hours, let them out, and then the protesters came straight back here. Now those protesters lobbied the government for 4.5 years, and eventually Neville Wran got involved. Now Neville Wran said, okay, well, I'm going to have an investigation, you know what they have all the time, can have a white paper, or we'll look into it. So they looked into it and they appointed a retired judge. So the retired judge had a look at all the information and they came out and said, yep, that's fine. Go ahead with the logging. That report was given to Neville Wran, and apparently what Neville Wran was, he popped it into a lower drawer and let it sit there, and what happened over the period of time is a lot more people would find out about it, and it gains quite a bit of press. And eventually the people, not just the local people, but the whole lot of people said, no, we want a national park, we don't want that place desecrated. So at that point, then Neville Wran brought in a special law that protected this area. And here's a little side twist. Later on, at the end of Neville Wran's career, he is being interviewed by someone on radio, and the guy on the radio said, "So Neville, what is your biggest achievement and the one you're most proud of in your entire career?" And Neville said, "Oh, the stopping of the logging at the rainforest." And the interviewer said, no, seriously, what was your greatest achievement? Apparently Neville Wran got really cross and he banged the desk. He said, "I've already said it. My greatest achievement was stopping the logging at Tania Creek." Well, there you have it. There was a couple of things I didn't do. There's one or two waterfalls just out of town, maybe 15 kilometres or thereabouts, and I didn't go to them at this time of the year because there's no water in there. It just would have been mud and it wouldn't have looked that great. The other thing is, right next to the campground there is a public swimming pool, which I'm pretty sure from memory is for free. So if it's really hot, you might want to check that out. Now, if you found the video useful, helpful and or entertaining, please give it a thumbs up. If you haven't already subscribed, now would probably be a pretty good time to do it. And if you think the video is worth sharing, that too would be great. And until next time, this is Paul Will Drive, signing off.